David Stewart here. Wanted to do a little bit of follow-up to my video on the pentatonic scale, or basic pentatonic scales. And what I wanted to make a video on was how to practice any scale, but we're going to do the pentatonic scale I showed in a previous video. We're going to show how to practice that for improvisation, which means for playing solos. And I think whenever you decide to pick up any scale, whether it's on the guitar or another instrument, you really ought to try to practice it this way if you can, because this will allow you to practice it the way that it's going to be presented in melodies, even if you aren't improvising with it. This is really the way to learn a scale properly. So, in the previous video I went over this pentatonic scale. It's a really, really basic one. We're doing it in the key of E, or E major or C sharp minor, however you want to think of it. It's in the 9th position, and I like the 9th position because we can use it for E blues almost the whole way through the progression, really the whole way through the progression. It also is really easy to visually see because we'll have a finger lined up on this dot and our 4th finger lined up on this dot, and we're just in this little 4-fret box here. I also like it because there's only 2 notes on each string. So let's look at the scale again real quick, starting here on the in the 9th fret, 9th position, 6th string, finger 1, finger 4 on the 12th fret, and again on the 9th fret, finger 1, finger 3 on the 11th, same thing, finger 1 on the 9th fret, finger 3 on the 11th, that's the 4th string. Here we go to the 3rd string, 1, 3, 2nd string, 1, 4, 1st string, 1, 4. So if you're thinking in terms of fingers, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. Okay? First step to practicing that scale properly is to just play it ascending and descending. That's step 1. Step 2 is you're going to add one improvisational element. Eventually we're going to build up to adding all improvisational elements. So I'm going to go ahead and focus the guitar a little bit more on my hands here, so you don't have to look at my ugly mug so much. There's the scale regular. The first element that we're going to add is what I call changing direction. So as we're going up and down the scale, we're going to choose when to turn around and start going the opposite way. Maybe you go back up here. And you want to practice this in quarter notes if possible. A nice, very consistent, slow to moderate tempo, where you can manage to think about all of the direction changes you like to have. Notice I'm only playing notes that are what are called stepwise. Even though in a pentatonic scale you have some notes that are 1.5 steps apart. We're just playing notes that are adjacent, notes that are next to one another. Okay, so once you feel really comfortable with that, that's step 2. So step 1 is to play ascending, descending. Step 2 is to change directions. The next step, the 3rd step, is to add leaps. A leap is any note that's not next to what you're playing. So if you're playing here, that's the next note. If you do a leap, you're leaping away from not to the next note, but to a note higher or lower. You could also go jump back down. There's a leap, okay? And as you're going through this, practicing it in quarter notes, you can do a leap. Now be careful when you're doing leaps that you don't do too many, otherwise you get a very disjointed sound. It stops sounding like a melody and starts to sound like just a random assortment of notes. So if you're doing lots of leaps, it starts to not be very melodic. It tends to really lose the listener. So a typical example of that for playing quarter notes, 1, 2, leap, going back down, and add another leap up, and I'm going to add a leap down in a second. So skipped a couple strings. There's a 3 leaps in a row. Okay, so that's the third step. The fourth step, which I actually consider the hardest of all, is to change rhythms, to vary the rhythm while you're doing this. So when you vary the rhythm, you're not just playing these quarter notes like we've been doing. I think it's important to start off practicing the scale in quarter notes, and then later you can change the rhythm around if you want. Once you're changing the rhythm, you're really using that scale to play a solo. Alright, so I added a couple of other techniques that are in there, including hammer-ons and a little bend. Later on, I guess that could be like step 4.5, step 5. You can add in some of those techniques that you've practiced. Okay, so that is the key to practicing any scale for the purposes of improvisation for playing a solo. You can do that not just with the pentatonic scale. You can do this at any pattern. You could do it with a nice little typical jazz Mussolini pattern. And then you can end up playing solos with any of those scales, or a 3-note per string pattern. And end up playing solos using those scales as well. So try that out. Go through those steps slowly, one note at a time. If you feel like you're losing a grasp on the rhythm, slow down or back up a step, okay? And have fun. Thanks for watching.